Let's get the backstory, my Fire Nation. We're going to have a brief history of Payola, right? And I'm going to show you the structural influence precedent that is still there today, right? It's important because it proves influence has a precedent, right? You're going to see that they basically do the same thing, but legally. Good. So in the 1950s to the 1960s, right, the record labels, they used to pay the radio DJs to spin certain records. So the result of that, like I was saying to you before, songs that got played more, they became familiar, they became popular, they sold more, they charted higher, right? Then Congress investigated that, right? And payola became illegal. Now, here why that matters. The industry, they learned something powerful. They learned that exposure creates demand, and control exposure. You can influence the charts, you can influence perception. So even when direct cash for spin stopped, the relationships remain. Label and radio partnerships, promotional budgets, exclusive premieres, industry access. The lesson wasn't stop influencing. They didn't get the point of it becoming illegal, basically, right? The lesson was influence legally. It's kind of like when you do your taxes, right? And without saying too much, you find ways to do stuff, right? Legally, right? So you can't get in trouble because it's legal, but you just have to know the rules. That's why a lot of people say you learn the rules first before you try to break them. These are facts. I'm just telling you facts. What you do with it is what you do with it. Right? Anyhow, fast forward. Let's pick it up. So radio becomes basically the playlist, but the same structure remains. Control over visibility shapes charts. Now, the cracks in the modern structure. If an artist fills back-to-back arenas, though, without heavy mainstream chart validation, that challenges their narrative. That challenges the centralized metric narrative. Why? Because it proves that cultural authority can exist outside of institutional certification. And we prove that, Jamaican people. I want to say that again. It proves that our cultural authority can exist and still be significant outside of their institutional certification. And we prove that, Jamaican people. So if we really want certification like that, in my humble opinion, we should do it ourselves. We can do it. But that's for another life. That's for another life. Anyhow, let's continue. That doesn't invalidate the plaques, but it does challenge their supremacy. Now, let me say this again. I'm not taking anything away from Popcorn because it was actually significant for him to get over 40,000 in a country like Canada. And I'm going to go into that, right? But you cannot water down arena either because that's a high friction activity. And I'm going to explain all of that to you, right? So now, understand yourself. Let's dive into the psychology of validation. Humans respond to signals of legitimacy.